The Flash was one of the first decent superhero TV shows to ever come out. The Flash Season 1, I feel, had a big impact on superhero television as a whole. It was done so well, so unique, so different, very grounded. But it definitely had its flaws here and there. It wasn't perfect. But The Flash Season 1, I think, was a stepping stone to great superhero television. With that, this is going to be Flashback Episode 1, where we look back on each season of The Flash starring Grant Gustin, and of course this episode we're going to start with season 1. So first, let's start off with the main character, Barry Allen, aka the Flash, played by, again, Grant Gustin. I gotta say, Grant Gustin, I think, is the perfect casting for the Flash, aka Barry Allen. I always say that Grant is like the Andrew Garfield of DC, casted perfectly for his role, such a great actor, so much potential, perfect for the role he was given, but he was given bad material to work with sometimes here and there. But, you know, he did his best with what he was given, generally speaking. But in context of his first season as the Flash, aka Barry Allen, I think his story and arcs were written pretty well. I enjoyed Barry's personality. He was like very quirky, very nerdy. Sadly to say though, this is the last season we see him this way, but I think that's for a reason, which we will definitely get into in my season 2 video, or maybe we can touch upon it a little bit in this video later on, because it does kind of involve a very specific character. The adaptation of the origin story was pretty good, although I will say I have never read Flash comics, so I have zero clue if the origin in this show is the same as the comic, or if anything is different versus one another. So if you have read Flash comics and know the origin like that happened in the comics, let me know down in the comments below. But I think it was interesting having his mom being killed by his greatest arch enemy from the future. The whole Iris, Joe, and Barry dynamic was great, interesting. And let me say, the whole Barry and Iris are like brother and sister, so them dating is weird. I can kind of understand that, but they aren't actually like family, and Barry did like her before they even really became quote unquote family. So I kind of get where people are coming from on that, but at the same time, I kind of don't. I will say, I wish Barry ended up with a different character, but that's for a whole nother video on a whole nother season of this show, which we will definitely get to that. Speaking of other characters, actually, I feel like Barry's relationships with other characters got flushed out pretty well for the first season. We kind of just talked about Barry with Joe and Iris, but to put it quick, Barry and Joe's relationship as dad and son was great, very well thought out. I could really feel like the bond that they shared together. Oh my, holy shit, I almost forgot Barry's relationship with his real dad. That is very amazing in this show. I will go as far as to say, I think Barry and Barry's dad, like their dynamic is way better in the show versus the movie, for sure, 110%. Real quick, Barry and Iris, they're all right in this season. It's just stupid because Eddie and Iris are dating and Barry kind of is just getting cucked, but you know, he also missed his chance for the time being. Now with that, let's talk about Barry and Dr. Wells, aka the Reverse Flash, aka Eobard Thawne. The bond between Wells and Barry is like none other, and like the thing is, it's really interesting because when you first watch the show for the first time, you don't even know Dr. Wells is Eobard Thawne, the Reverse Flash, not until I think halfway through the season. I don't recall specifically what episode. I know I just watched it, but I don't remember like that detailed, and I didn't like take that down in my notes as I was watching it. But it's like not right away the audience finds out about that, you know. But when we do find out, it's like, damn, what, like, how is he doing this double life where he's helping Barry and genuinely seems to care about him and helping others? Little do we know, it's just part of his big plan he's been planning for 10-15 years or something, which is like actually just insane when you really think about it. Like the amount of absolute pure dedication you have to have for this is insane. But then when Barry finds out Dr. Wells killed his mom, I feel like I had the same reaction, like, damn, like how did you out of all people kill my mom, you know what I mean? And then like proceed to help me become a superhero, like, and like help me save people, and even go as far as to promise me that we will catch who killed my mom, train me to become the Flash, etc., to, you know, then go behind my back and stab me in it. Like, it's just crazy overall, but that's kind of what makes the overarching story of season 1 good. It's just like the whole dynamic of Reverse Flash and the Flash and Barry, Dr. Wells, or Eobard Thawne. Barry looked up to Dr. Wells like a mentor, a father figure almost, but not quite. Of course, until, you know, he finds out what he finds out. Speaking of bonds, I want to talk about Dr. Wells, Eobard Thawne, his bond with Cisco. I really enjoyed their dynamic. It was so sad when Dr. Wells had to reverse flash him, but at least it was in an alternate timeline. I guess that would be right since it's not a part of the new timeline created, even though Cisco remembered it somehow. That whole shit's just crazy. I don't know. Oh, speaking of Cisco, oh my god, I love Cisco. He is and always will be my favorite character of the entire show after Barry and the Flash. One concern I do have about a specific thing in this season is, how did Wells know about the guy at Central City Picture News? How did he know he was doing an article about Dr. Wells? I don't remember the specific episode, and again, I know I just watched it, but I was binge watching and writing my thoughts down after I finished the season. I didn't really go into detail on everything. But anyway, there's this episode, I think it might be the one where the time paradox happened, where Barry ran back into time, or it was sometime after that episode, I think. But Wells finds out Iris's coworker is about to do a hit piece on Dr. Wells, so Reverse Flash shows up, asks for all the files and everything on Harrison Wells, and then proceeds to kill that guy. But I don't remember anything pointing to how Wells or Eobard Thawne found out about this though, or if maybe it was just intuition. So I don't know, if any of you guys know, comment down below. Now let's talk about a little more about just the Flash in general, not so much Barry Allen, but the Flash. I really enjoy Grant's portrayal of the Flash. I like how he's usually super serious about the whole fighting bad guys thing, putting them away. Of course, as the season goes on, he gets more confident, cracks jokes here and there, which I think is totally fine. I like most of the running stuff. The lightning effects were pretty cool. The way he runs, I think, is fine. I really despise how Ezra runs. So Barry running, it's so much better. I will say though, Ezra's shots while he's running look better, but Barry runs better, or Grant runs better. The Flash costume was okay for a first suit, a little thick, but again, first costume, so it's fine. It's an alright suit. It's kind of dark though, like the red is really dark, and it's a little bit too much red, but again, it's a first suit, so it's good enough for now. Villains, let's talk about villains. So my favorite villains are definitely Leonard Snart. He is a goat. He's very cocky, calculated, evil, but he has a good heart, very deep down. Also, Trickster, that episode, I loved the Trickster, both of them, mainly the older guy, but the Trickster in general was enjoyable to watch the Flash go against. My favorite 3 episodes of this season are definitely Rogue Time, Tricksters, and The Sound and Fury. Now let's talk a little bit more about the main villain of the season, Reverse Flash. Shit, man, what bad is there to say about CW Reverse Flash? In my opinion, he's honestly perfect. Wells or Tom Cavanagh Reverse Flash does so good as the character, it's insane. I wouldn't be surprised if they casted him as Reverse Flash in the new DCU. I think he plays the character really well. Personally, I would say Tom Cavanagh is the J. Jonah Jameson of the DCU. Not literally as far as but metaphorically, J.K. Simmons is J. Jonah Jameson. I feel like Tom Cavanagh is the Reverse Flash. Does that make sense? And don't get me wrong, I like the other Reverse Flash actor, Matt Letcher. I think he's cool. I like him, but I personally just prefer Tom. I think because he just really knows how to get into the role. I feel and capture that calm, collected, calculated, cocky, evil, but charming madness the Reverse Flash gives off. He can go from sweet, subtle prep talk, advice, scientifically smart, and sarcasm type of guy into a very deadly, seriously not playing any games supervillain into an instance. And the way he talks as Reverse Flash to Barry, because Reverse Flash is so just confident in his plan the entire time, is great as well. His costume, that costume is just amazing. I love it. My favorite part about the suit is the sort of gradient style from the black to the yellow, contrasting the yellow with the black symbol also is pretty beast, and the red lightning ears, this is just a perfect Reverse Flash suit in my eyes. Last thing I wanted to make sure I mention is that Iris and Eddie's relationship, cringe. Get it out of here. Thank God. There's one last thing I want to address. There was, or kind of still is, a stigma of oh, he's using super speed. Why do they portray him using his powers so weird? As far as to where okay, he could have caught that guy by now, if that makes sense. Or he's fast. He could have dodged that, saved that guy. That person should have been alive. That person should have been locked in the pipeline by now. So honestly, I think this kind of thought process is partially stupid because it's just how comics comics are sometimes. Not everything is explained or always makes 110% sense all the time. I think maybe one thing the CW could have done different to combat this sort of stigma of like, oh, he's fast, he's OP, how can he not do so and so, is maybe they could have established he's so fast that if he speed punches a regular human being, they would die. So if he wants to take a regular human alive, he can't speed punch them or something like that maybe. As far as like speed dodging and shit, I think that's purely based off Barry's reaction timing, which I think can vary depending on the situation and stuff like that. Holy shit, so I literally almost somehow forgot to talk about the finale. I don't know how or why I didn't write anything down about it. I did sort of get caught up in watching the show. I'm currently at like season 6 and I haven't even written down my thoughts on 4 yet. I have my thoughts on 2 and 3 right now written down. But anyway, getting sidetracked. So the finale of this season. So I'm gonna kind of just like explain it briefly and like give my thoughts on it and kind of like break it down. It starts off with Dr. Wells being captured and thrown in the pipeline, but I think this was a part of his plan anyway though. So here we learn a little bit about the context of the Flash and the Reverse Flash in this universe in the future. We learn that Thawne is born 136 years from the time season 1 took place, and season 1 took place roughly around 2013 to 2014. So Thawne was born around 2149 or 2150. That's kind of crazy to think about, low-key. Damn, like 2150, that's pretty crazy. But eventually, Barry asks why Thawne killed his mom, and Thawne just straight up says, "I hate you," then clarifies, not you now, you years from now, and the reason why isn't disclosed right now. It's revealed in a future season, which we will definitely, talk about that and probably reference this season too when we do get to that. But we also learned Thawne eventually learned his real name, aka Barry Allen. So with that, he figured he has to travel back in time to go back to when Barry was a kid and kill him, and no more Flash in the future. But of course, future Flash followed Thawne and Flash saved himself, but Thawne figured, well, might as well kill his mom so that Barry could suffer a tragedy so harsh he would never become the Flash. I will say, I feel like that was a flawed plan. Like, how could he have been so sure he wouldn't have became the Flash just because of that? I feel that was like a really risky chance. Like what are the chances of that? But in doing so, he lost his connection to the Speed Force, assumingly because, Barry's mom died, he never becomes a Flash, so the Speed Force isn't born. So I guess it kind of worked out, but I feel like it was a lucky thing, if that makes sense. But yeah, since the Speed Force wasn't born, that made him stuck in the timeline. So with that, inevitably, he needed to create the Flash to get home. So he created him earlier than he originally was supposed to. And yeah, here we are now. I like how it sort of comes full circle at the beginning of the first episode. Not completely full circle. It comes more full circle in the last season, but it's like a good enough half full circle for now. Then Barry asks a very important, crucial question, which I was also wondering the same thing. Why did Thawne help Barry save so much people? Which, again, it's a good question because, like, why are you gonna kill my mother and then create me and then help me save so many people, Like, it's giving psychotic, twisted vibes. Like, whose side are you on? But he does kind of give a valid answer. Not valid as in, like, a good reason, but, like, a valid answer that at least makes sense. He needed the Flash to become fast enough to crack the space-time barrier in order for Thawne to get home, so here's where he offers the Flash the chance to go back in time and save his mom. Barry goes to think about it. He's kind of skeptical, so he goes to talk to Team Flash about it. Eventually, he just says, fuck it, why not? And Thawne's plan is the particle accelerator, but instead of two particles colliding, it's the Flash colliding with a particle to create a wormhole into infinite times. I really like how this show, like, tries their best at least to, make things understandable for the audience for the most part. I think most of it makes sense until we start getting into like the really crazy time traveling shit. But I feel like this isn't that complicated. Like, this at least sort of makes sense. Then we get a really emotional, chilling scene with Cisco, and this is where it's teased he might have powers and actually be a metahuman. Where Cisco says to Dr. Wells, "Is that what you said when you killed me?" And he tells him what happened in the other timeline, but that timeline is gone, but he can still remember it so vividly as if it happened in this current timeline. Again, the bond between Cisco and Dr. Wells is just something else. Like, it's sad, low-key, I feel like. that it had to come to this, you know what I mean? I'm gonna skip like a good portion of stuff in the episode, but overall it's a great episode, I think. Then they kind of slip in there that, you know, there's a possibility that a singularity, aka giant black hole, could open and destroy, well, not only Central City but the world when they go through with this particle accelerator colliding into the Flash thing. But you know, they go through with it. Barry goes back in time and is about to save his mom, but future Barry catches his younger present self and is like, stop, don't do it, and, you know, zips away. We go on to get a really emotional scene with Barry and his mom, and bro, this shit almost made me cry. God fucking damn it, bro. This shit was so heartfelt, and like the acting from Grant is just top tier, I think. At least I think like it was really good acting. Like you can really just feel the emotions in the scene between Barry and his mom. Then just as Reverse Flash is about to go through the wormhole, Flash comes back with a mean left hook to Eobard's face, and in rage he asks, why didn't you save her? You could have had everything you ever wanted and more. Flash says he already does, and Reverse Flash says, not for long. Now I want to actually talk about that for a little bit. In future seasons, and kinda in this season, it is a prominent thing that Reverse Flash or Eobard Thawne does not help anyone unless it helps or benefits him. He always has an ulterior motive. With that, the one time he was actually willing to let Flash have his life with his mom and dad, I think he gave Barry that chance, only because of, you know, him growing fond of this version of Barry rather than the future one, if that makes sense. Obviously though, like Eobard would still get to go home if Flash had saved his mom and stuff, but I feel Reverse Flash actually like genuinely was like offering that chance to Barry from like the bottom of his heart. The way he put it, especially like with what he said earlier in the episode about how he's giving Barry a chance to undo all of his evil and stuff. I think that was a kind of underlooked thing in the season finale, which I caught and found interesting, because from here on out he does not give chances like that. All bets are off the table. With that, Reverse Flash is about to kill Barry until Eddie Thawne kills himself, and since Eddie is a Thawne and Eobard is a Thawne, they are related. I think Eddie is Eobard's great-great-great-grandfather or something like that. So Eddie dies, Eobard Thawne is never born, erasing Reverse Flash from existence, or this specific Reverse Flash from existence, I guess. This whole shit is crazy too, because this comes full circle in season 9, which that's a mess for another video, another time, another day to talk about. But with that, the singularity opens, Flash runs in, tries to stop it. Ronnie does too as well, Firestorm. Oh, one more thing, I wanted to make sure I talked about this too. Earlier I said this is the last season we see Barry like kind of, you know, quirky, very nerdy, full of life sort of, and not so serious with like a bubbly personality. This is the last season we see Barry like act like that kind of. That is until this whole Reverse Flash thing happens, you know, and like he becomes a superhero. He realizes like, holy shit, like this isn't a game, like it's life or death, you know, like there's guys more powerful than me or him out there, but you know, he's gonna do what he needs to do or thinks is best for himself and as well as his loved ones and shit like that. So I feel like that's why we don't see Barry be like the way he was in season 1 after season 1. I think it's essentially just character development thing. Like how could he be the old go-lucky happy Barry after season 1, you know what I mean? But yeah, with that, I think this was a great season finale. So many emotional moments, so many interesting moments. Wasn't a ton of action, I feel like, but it was like, you know, just enough, I feel like. I mean, it is a finale episode for the season, so I thought I did pretty good at wrapping everything up while also setting up everything for the following season, season 2. Overall, I'm gonna give the season 1 of The Flash a 9 out of 10. Highly recommend. Great season of The Flash. A lot of people for some reason think this is the only good season of The Flash. I completely disagree. There's definitely some other good seasons. They probably just haven't watched them fully, or maybe, I don't know, maybe they just have a different opinion, but I don't know. I think there's more than just 1 or 2 good seasons of The Flash, and you know, we will get to all of them eventually. So what do you think of The Flash season 1? Did you enjoy it, or did you not really like the show at all that much, so you never really got to try the show? Make sure to comment your opinion down below so I can discuss all of that with you in the comment section. Thank you for taking time out of your day to click on this video. If you are new to the channel, I cover Spider-Man related scoops, rumors, leaks, confirmations for the games, movies, TV shows, usually, and I try to upload as much as I can. So if any of that interests you, hit the subscribe button. We're on the road to 4,000 subscribers. If you want more of this type of content, leave a like on the video. Don't forget to check out my latest video on the left if you haven't already. I hope you ever had a good day and that you enjoyed the video. Until next time.